Hey everyone, I wanted to put it together a quick video as a response to what Darren just posted about religion. And like he said, yeah, religion can make enemies out of people real quick. Um, so I'll start with a disclaimer that says this is my own belief, and um, I've grown old enough to have the wisdom to respect other people's beliefs, and I don't judge anyone, well, no matter what their beliefs. I judge people on their actions. And if you're a good person, then I'll like you. And if you're an asshole, then I won't like you. So, but I did want to share just a couple things based on Darren's video. First, I wanted just to say that I came to Christ in high school. Um, I won't get into the story, but I came to Christ in high school and got involved in a lot of religious activities, despite my family didn't really go to church a few times a year, maybe. But I got involved in it pretty hardcore, and then I went off to college, and I kind of wandered a bit, wandered away, if you will. Got involved in the partying scene and all that in college. I had a good time, and I feel like I grew a lot socially, and um, did a lot for my self-confidence during those years. But and then I'll tell you, the instant I came back to God was, like you said, when my first baby was born. When Amy was born, I saw her come out. It was, I started crying, just, it was amazing just seeing the birth of that. It'll make a believer out of pretty much anyone, I think. Um, but I wanted to say that you had talked a little bit about church, and how you went to a Catholic church and it wasn't for you, and I can see that, and I actually go to a Baptist church now. Um, but I really feel that churches nowadays they're the way they are nowadays is more a product of our society than actual what God intended. Um, I do think God intended us to gather with like-minded people to worship Him. Um, I don't think God intended um, us to build, um, you know, millions of dollar buildings to have humongous congregations and stuff and put on big shows and stuff like that. I don't personally think that's the spirit of the love of Christ. Um, I just think that that's us projecting our own tendencies on Christianity. I mean, it's our tendency to build big shopping malls and you know marble this and that and stupid stuff. To me, it's a waste of money when you've got people starving and all across the world, and and I would rather than pay for a humongous fancy building, I would rather spend money on Bibles and food to a tribe in South America. It just seems misguided to me. But regardless, the church that we go to, and we go there because we like the sermon. But the church that we go to, their weekly budget's like over $10,000. And nearly all of that is paying for the building and paying for the staff salary, and I'm just not too sure that it should be about that. But we go because I like the sermons, I like the pastor, and I like what he has to say. But I'll say this: the early church is a lot different than what it is today. I got a little excerpt that I'll read here at the end of the video, but the early church, the church that was started by the apostles was a lot different than the church nowadays. And something else you got to remember is that pastors, you can pray for them, and you can pray for them to have wisdom and knowledge and guidance. But at the end of the day, we're all sinners, pastors included. We are sinful flesh, and we'll always do sinful things, regardless of who we are, where our place in society. um, so on and so forth. Um, but yeah, I mean, uh, church is just the business end of worshiping God. It's if you find a church that speaks to you, it might be worth investing your time, your money, your manpower um, into that church. To be part of that church because it speaks to you. But church is a business. What it comes down to is worshiping God. I have some friends that have a home-based church. They worship church from home, and in my mind, that's uh, just as effective or even better than going to a big church. Um, you might get some other things out of going to a big church, like Bible study programs and church choirs and music and stuff like that you wouldn't get at a home-based church. But I think the home-based church is probably a lot more like what the early church was like. So. Um, So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of blabbering, but basically, you know, pastors are sinners too. I don't think church nowadays is what God intended. It's what we have made of it, um, and that's not necessarily a bad thing if you can find a church home. If not, then do a home-based church. So um, I know we sought out a church. Personally, our family sought out a church because we wanted a little that bit of structure that you would get with a organized church, especially for the kids. The programs. You bring in a teacher that you know has a curriculum for the kids to follow and that type of thing. So we did it more for the structure than anything. I think you can, with discipline, you can have a better home-based church than you can have going to a big church. Anyways, I'm blabbering. I'm going to read that passage and then I'll call this video done. This is Justin Martyr, who is a Roman and one of the first writers about the early church. And this is something that he wrote. And on the day called Sunday, all who live in cities or in the country gather together to one place, and the memoirs of the apostles or the writings of the prophets are read, as long as time permits. Then, when the reader has ceased, the president, pastor, verbally instructs and exhorts to the imitation of these good things. Then we all rise together and pray, and as we before said, when our prayers ended, bread and wine and water are brought, and the president in like manner offers prayers and thanksgivings according to his ability, and the people assent, saying, Amen. And there is a distribution to each, and a participation of that over which thanks have been given. And to those who are absent a portion is sent by the deacons. And they who are well-to-do and willing give what each thinks fit. And what is collected is deposited with the president, who succors the orphans and widows. Succors means gives aid to the orphans and widows, and those who, through sickness or any other cause, are in want, and those who are in bonds and the strangers sojourning among us, and in a word, takes care of all who are in need. But Sunday is the day on which we all hold our common assembly, because it is the first day on which God, having wrought a change in the darkness and matter, made the world. And Jesus Christ our Savior on the same day rose from the dead. For he was crucified on the day before that of Saturn, or Saturday, and on the day after that of Saturn, which is the day of the sun, having appeared to his apostles and disciples, he taught them these things, which we have submitted to you also for consideration. So, he's essentially described for us what the early church services were like. People from all over would gather on a Sunday, and my indication is that they would spend a good portion of the day, not just an hour and 15 minutes, but they'd get together. The leader would read writings from the apostles and prophets, i.e. the Bible, as long as time permits, and then would say to the people, he would exhort to the imitation of these good things. He would tell the people, that's how you should act. This is what you should do. Then they all pray together. Then they break bread. They have a meal. And that's what their worship looked like on a Sunday. And there's nothing. And then the offering. They would take an offering. The people that had money would give an offering, and then that money would go to the needy and the orphans and people in prison, that type of thing. People who are in need. That's what the early church looked like, guys. It's a bit different than nowadays, if you ask me. That's about all I got to say. I just want to say thank you to Darren for posting that video because it made me think, it made me remember, and it made me want to share this little bit of information. So y'all have a good Thursday. See ya.